Well, hello, my lovelies. It's Murky Meg here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is the 30th of October, and this is the first video that I'm going to talk in depth about this Byline Times absolute hatchet job against the monarchy. Apparently it's the world exclusive, The Truth About Mexit, and I'm going to go over it with a fine-tooth comb. I'm not quite sure how long this is going to go on for, so this could be the first video, it could be the only video, it could also be another second or third video to come. I honestly don't know how this is going to pan out until I actually start delving into it and talking about it, because you know, I like a little rant. However, so last week, this so-called bombshell, it's not, came out, and it seems like a massive hat job trying to link Dan Wootton in a cash for leaks scandal in the split that happened in the royal family that is now synonymously called Mexit. I think in this video I'm going to be focusing on the part that most of the newspapers have reported on. Not many actually have done a lot of reporting on this, and I truly believe that's because they see it for exactly what it is, absolute drivel. So the article starts off saying that King Charles withdrew his $700,000 funding deal for son Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's transition into a life in Canada in retaliation for the naming of a top royal aide in legal papers alleging a cash for leaks arrangement with journalist Dan Wootton, apparently the Byline Times can reveal. Do you remember when Harry went on Oprah Winfrey in March 2021 and said, my father cut me off? We have to go back to January 2020, the 8th of January to be precise. That is when the bombshell Mexit happened. We had the Sun headline written and orchestrated by Dan Wootton. Here we go. Can you remember this one? Yes, we can. And because of this story, Harry and Meghan dropped their Sussex Royal website. I was all over this at the time, and I have put a few links up in the right hand corner systematically. If you have a look when they flash up, I'll link you to my previous videos that I did of this. So keep an eye out in the top right hand corner. There will be a little flash. If you click on that, it will take you to the previous videos, and each video that I do, I can put 5 links up. So I will try within this video and link all the videos that I did, but I might actually do a playlist, which is really quite easy. And if you click on this particular link, it will have all of the videos that I've done in that playlist. So if you click on the link now, that's on the top right hand corner, that's the playlist that will have all relevant videos. So on the 8th of January 2020, it hit that they were leaving. They said at the time that the hand was forced to release this Sussex Royal website, which basically detailed everything that they wanted to do moving forward. It seemed pretty premature because a lot of what they said in this website, some of which has now been removed because of the Sandringham Summit, which happened on the 13th of January, literally 4 days after this bombshell website was dropped by the Sussexes. But this, obviously, website could not have been done in a matter of days. This has been months in the planning, or had been months in the planning. Now, Byline Times said that the agreement was that Harry and Meghan would have a 12-month settling period to see whether or not they wanted life away from the royal family. But Byline Times state that £70,000, which was the funding that Charles gave Harry, was stripped because Harry refused to remove a top royal name from legal papers alleging cash for leaks arrangement with Dan Wootton. Now you remember that on Oprah, Harry said that they were forced to make commercial deals because their funding was stripped. And because they state that their security needs are quite substantial, they couldn't afford it. So therefore had to chase commercial deals. But in their website that was released on the 9th of January, it said, I call it their manifesto, because effectively that's what it was. It was their wishes. I mean, in it, they said that they wanted to be half in, half out. This was before they even suggested it. Can you imagine the Queen going, I don't think so? And that was what the Sandringham Summit was all about, to iron out their wishes, what was needed, what could be done, and what couldn't be done. Their manifesto said that they were wanting to be financially independent. It's there in black and white. Look, financially independent. It says, why are the Duke and Duchess of Sussex choosing this new working model? The Duke and Duchess of Sussex take pride in their work and are committed to continuing their charitable endeavours as well as establishing new ones. In addition, they value the ability to earn a professional income, which in the current structure they are prohibited from doing. For this reason, they have made the choice to become members of the royal family with financial independence. Their Royal Highnesses, obviously they can't use that now, they should have removed that, feel this new approach will enable them to continue to carry out their duties for Her Majesty the Queen, while having the future financial autonomy to work externally. While the contribution from the sovereign grant covers just 5% for cost for the Duke and Duchess, it is specifically used for their official office expense. Their Royal Highnesses prefer to release this financial tie. More details on specifics of the sovereign grant are outlined below. They basically went on to say that only 5% of their funding when they were working royals came from the sovereign grant, i.e. the rest of it came from dear Daddy, be it from his own personal finances or from the Duchy of Cornwall, which he was then in charge of. Interesting fact, Prince William is now in charge of the Duchy of Cornwall because Charles is now king. So while they preach on that it was only 5% that they were using of the sovereign grant, which is taxpayers' money, they were getting a hefty chunk while they were working royals, of course, from King Charles, then Prince Charles. Now here's where it gets tricky, because on this website, before they even discussed it, or so we're led to believe, and that's what the Sandringham Summit was about, it says, does their future financial autonomy extend to covering the cost of security? And at this particular time, this was a very sticky subject with regards to the British people and the press as well, who will cover their security. Can you remember when they were in Canada? Canada picked up the taxpayers' bill, and then Trump said, well, if they come to America, I'm not paying for it. Anyway, it says this: provision of armed security by the Metropolitan Police is mandated by the Home Office, a ministerial department of Her Majesty's government responsible for security and law and order. No breakdown of security cost is available, as disclosure of such information would compromise the integrity of these arrangements and affect the security of the individuals protected. It is a long-established policy not to comment upon the protective security arrangements and their related cost for members of the royal family or their residences. Now, the Byline Times say that Charles agreed to this 12-month period and that he would financially support them while they got on their feet. But it was reported by The Independent in June 2021 that the now King helped the Duke and Duchess of Sussex with a substantial sum of money after they quit as working royals, despite Harry claiming his family literally cut him off financially. Accounts show Charles continued to fund the Sussexes until the summer of 2020, with a senior Clarence House spokesperson saying he allocated them a generous amount of money. However, obviously the Duke, Harry, told Oprah Winfrey he stopped getting financial support from his family in the first quarter of that year. Funding for both Charles's son, William, and Harry and their families contributed to £4.5 million bill for Prince Charles at the time. Prince Charles. Harry and Meghan were still listed as receiving money from Charles's Duchy of Cornwall income despite quitting the monarchy at the end of March last year. Obviously, this was done in 2001. A senior Clarence House spokesperson said to The Independent, as we'll all remember in January 2020, when the Duke and Duchess announced that they were going to move away from working royal family, the Duke said that they would work towards becoming financially independent. The Prince of Wales allocated a substantial sum to support them with this transition. The funding ceased in the summer of last year. The couple are now financially independent. Asked about the discrepancy, the Clarence House spokesperson said, "I wouldn't acknowledge that they are dramatically different. All I can tell you are facts." Now, the journalists who work for this so-called media outlet say that financial sanctions came upon the Duke of Sussex, defined the demands of the then Prince of Wales and the palace staff by declining to remove the name of former Kensington Palace Press Secretary Christian Jones from a letter before action to Wotton's former employer, The Sun, in May 2020. Basically what that means is that Harry was about to send a letter before action, which is kind of a legal way of saying a cease and desist, or if you do not do something about it, we will take legal action, alleging that there was a cash for leaks arrangement with Dan Wotton. The then Prince of Wales, i.e. King Charles, said to Harry, "You must remove Christian Jones because he is a senior member." He was Kensington Palace Press Secretary at the time, and he said remove his name from that letter. Harry said no, and the Byline Times have alleged that because Harry wouldn't remove Christian Jones's name from the letter, Charles withdrew the funding from Harry and Meghan. Byline Time reports that the matter alleged in the letter before action about him appeared to have been dropped, but the sudden defunding of the Sussex in late June 2020 led to the collapse of the Sandringham Agreement governing a 12-month trial period as the couple sought to split their time between the UK and Canada and remove themselves from the royal rota. Hold up, whoa, as Oprah would say. So they said that the 12-month trial period as the couple sought to split their time between the UK and Canada and remove themselves from the royal rota. Okay, so they say that just 3 months into the trial period, and led directly to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex having to enter into private commercial arrangement in the US to pay for an estimated £3 million a year cost for 24-hour security of the family. Now they're saying that it was withdrew, although they wanted to split their time between UK and Canada just 3 months into the agreement. So the agreement was made on the 13th of January. That's when the Sandringham Summit happened. They flew and fled from Canada to LA on the 26th of March. Okay, so that's January. No, sorry, that's not 3 months. Technically, it's about 2 months. Do these hacks not know how to actually look at a calendar and do basic research? I suspect what actually happened was that Charles was fed up of getting demands from money, because if he only withdrew 700,000, where is this rest of this 3 million coming from? It cost, apparently, to Byline Times, it cost £3 million per year for security cost for 24-hour coverage, but only Charles was paying £700,000, which he withdrew. Now, it was reported in the media at that particular time that Harry was hounding his father for money. On top of that £700,000, hounding. It was widely reported in the media at that time. So he wanted more and more money, and according to the media, Charles stopped taking his son's calls because of that very reason. Now, the Byline Times say that the funding was removed because Harry refused to remove Christian Jones's name out of the call for action letter. But then they went on to say that they threatened the removal of the funding to try and protect the royal household from potential courtroom scandal with Jones and Wotton. That's fine, we've discussed that very publicly at the centre. The actual removal of the funding weeks later was about control and designed to force Harry and Meghan to come back into senior royal family in the UK where their security would be assured. I don't buy that for 1 minute. Listen to this bit, because this bit really got me angry. The Byline Times said that a source added, I wonder who this source is. I wonder. The greater truth is that Harry and Meghan make better headlines than the King and Camilla or William and Kate. The idea of them still being in public service, but abroad and out of the control of the institution and dominating the media narrative, just couldn't happen. Senior members of the family wanted them back after the transition period and were ready to continue playing dirty to make this happen. They never thought the trial period would work and tried everything to make it fail, starting with the removal of security and then signing off on the 12-month assault by the UK press on Harry and Meghan and everyone in their orbit. I'm sorry, but have I been living in an alternate reality here? They say that Harry and Meghan got more beneficial press, or to put it as they have in the article, that they got better headlines. We're reading the same headlines because, yes, they got better headlines when they got married, but everything went very quickly south with regards to the headlines after that. What better headlines? Has anybody been reading about them? Because since, well, just before Archie's birth, maybe while Meghan was pregnant. Sorry, I had a slight frog in my throat there. I don't know what happened. That they were getting better press than Charles and Camilla and William and Kate. Have I missed something? Have I missed where their better headlines were? Because this is factually incorrect. And didn't they grumble in their Netflix documentary about the terrible headlines that they got? Yet they're now grumbling that they got better headlines than the senior members of the royal family, the other senior members of the royal family. It's sloppy journalism because they use this kind of stance with Diana. Oh, she's outshining Prince Charles and the Queen. Oh, we can't let that happen. I'm honestly speechless that they actually put in their article that Harry and Meghan had better headlines than Charles, Camilla, William and Kate. Did anybody else kind of see better headlines? Because I didn't. To suggest that removing their funding for security was a way of controlling them to get them back into the working royal family is laughable. Before Harry and Meghan were married, the Queen gave them the option. Do you want your own life or do you want to be part of the royal life? You have a choice. Meghan, you can continue with what you're doing, and Harry, you can go with her. You don't have to be working royals. But in that interview, the engagement interview, Meghan was very, very happy to take on royal duties. In every single statement that the Queen and now the King have done about Harry and Meghan, it's always been positive and supportive of their new role. To suggest that their funding was taken away because they were jealous is unbelievable. The Byline Times continues, as far as the institution of the monarchy went, the Sussexes had either to be safely in the tent in Britain or cast away and castigated as comprehensively as possible in order to reduce the threat of them eclipsing the rest of the family. It's no surprise they have endured such a degrading time from such a willing British media when the same just isn't true elsewhere in the world. Isn't it funny how right before Omid Scooby's new book going on about the endgame and the constitutional crisis of the monarchy, this Byline Times comes out and tries to damage yet again the reputation of the monarchy. It is complete and utter garbage. This particular part, and I will be doing another video with the other elements of the article because they're just as equally hilarious as this one, basically focuses on Harry's funding being removed because he didn't play by the ball and that he was going to eclipse them all and therefore that couldn't happen. So, and also he wrote a letter, or he was going to write a letter that was naming a senior aide, and that couldn't happen either. I'm sorry, we've heard it all before. We've heard all of this before. This is just rehashing old news. It's spiteful propaganda coming out the mouths of the Sussex crew, because as I proved in my previous video, link up in the right hand corner, we have a direct link between Harry and the author. The author, Dan Evans, is supporting Harry in his court case that he's suing the Daily Mirror with regards to phone hacking. There is a direct link. It's not fiction, it's fact. Dan Evans was in court as a witness for Harry. Dan Evans also co-authored this article. It's a hit piece on the monarchy, pure and simple. Just in time for Omid Scooby's Endgame and just in time for The Crown on Netflix. Byline Times is an anti-monarchy media outlet, pure and simple. It's a load of old garbage. So this is my first video. I've now obviously whittled on, prattled on for far too long. longer than I normally would, so I do apologise for that. Or maybe I shouldn't. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I would love to know your thoughts on this. What about the timelines? It's weird, you know, with the whole 3 months and then it wasn't, and everything was detailed on their website to say that they wanted financial independence. And why the hell were they so shocked when the financial support was withdrawn? There was also massive outcry at the time with the British public that we would be financially supporting Harry and Meghan at the time. And whether or not it is the taxpayer or Charles supporting them, there was still massive outcry. They moved to LA on the 26th of March. So there was that massive upkeep. They were staying in huge mansion, then they brought their mansion in LA. There was big backlash with regards to that. Do you think Charles was right to remove the funding? And is this just yet again Harry prattling on about something that he really should, as a grown man, mid-30s, be able to sort out himself, stand on his own 2 feet? After all, that's exactly what they wanted. You don't leave a firm, a job, and then continue to get your perks. In fact, Byline Times actually contradicts themselves and says that the funding was taken away because Harry wouldn't remove Christine Jones's name. And then later on, only a couple of paragraphs later, say, well, the greater truth is that they couldn't stand Harry and Meghan getting bigger headlines, which they didn't. So therefore we're going to remove the funding. Which is it, Byline? Which is it? Was it the letter? Or was it the eclipsing of the headlines that never really happened? Please make up your mind. As always, I'd love to know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and also that like button. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers for all the tips and all the emails, DMs that everybody sends to me. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching once again.